Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the podcast version of Trey's Variety Hour is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
Welcome, everyone, to a very special Trey's Variety Hour. This is Trey's Variety Hour number 36, the evolution and revolution of photography. And I'm here with a couple of my good friends, as you can see down at the bottom there. And there's somebody in here with a crazy lens waving at the camera. But let's start. Let's skip that. Let's start from left to right. Derrick Story is in the hangout. Hey, Derrick, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Frederick. Hey, we've been hanging out a lot lately, haven't we?
I know. People are going to start to talk. We got to start.
Yeah.
And my new best friend over there, right next to me, there is Gavin Seim. We did a hangout earlier this week, and Gavin blew my socks off with his knowledge of photography and the zone system and all that crazy stuff. So, Gavin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's going to be fun.
You're welcome. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Also, another familiar face right there, Mr. Martin Bailey, coming to us from Japan. Hey, Martin.
Good day, everybody.
Hey, good evening. What time is it there?
It's 11 a.m. Doing good here.
Good. Awesome. Cool. And Miss Sara France coming from the wonderful city of San Diego. Hey, Sara France.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited. Such great company.
I know. This is awesome. This is going to be a great show. I'm excited.
I know. Yeah. And
then we've got Tony Wang there. And, that's not Trey Radcliffe over in the right there. I just want to say, just go on record, that is not Trey Radcliffe in the right there. That is Dave.
That
Dave
is me.
Making sure everything, Dave Veffer, making sure everything runs smoothly and promisingly as we go through this hangout.
Crossing my fingers. All right.
Crossing your fingers. Yeah, we got everybody in the hangout on time, and it's rolling. So this is a big show, you guys. You all got the outline that I sent over. What I want to talk about. Well, first of all, this is Trey's Variety Hour, right? So this is Trey's show. Normally what he does is, we go through the show itself, and then at the end, you guys kind of show or reveal a photographer on Google Plus that may not be known by other people, but should be known by other people. So you're going to get a chance to screen share and show some other people's work and sort of spread the love, as it were. But before we start, all this stuff, the main topic of this show is the evolution and revolution, or you can flop those, the revolution and evolution of photography. And that's what I want to talk about. So I want to jump into this stuff. The main thing is, or one of the main things I want to talk about is just sort of a then versus now. Where were we? Back in the day, it was, and Derrick, I know you know about this stuff. So back in the day,
already he's starting on them.
No disrespect. I'm just saying,
I'm going to dye my hair one of these days. I'm going to come on. I'm going to have really. I'm going to my hair's going to be like Sarah's color.
Don't do it. Well, you and I both know, you and I both were shooting film back in the day, right? And
right.
You're no stranger to the dark room. All that stuff.
I am not.
So rewind, get in your H.G. Wells time machine, go back in time, back to when you were doing the dip and dunk thing, and you had the smell of fixer in the air, and you were, sort of excited to get that one print. What do you miss? What's the thing that you miss about the darkroom experience versus going into Lightroom and or Aperture or whatever and making changes to your photo there?
Well, there's not a whole lot, but there is one thing I miss, and that is the image, a print, coming up in the developer tray. I think that is still one of the magical things that we don't get electronically anymore.
Yeah, just that magical print, just sort of seeing it reveal itself over time.
Exactly, as it comes up, and then you're going at some point, you go, oh, whoa, stop, as it keeps going,
and then it gets black.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. But I think that that is what hooked me on working in a chemical darkroom. Is the first time I saw a print come up in Developer Tray. It truly is a magical experience.
Very cool. All right. Well, let's, I'm going to do this a little differently. So, I started with that question. I'm going to ask all of you guys that same question as I move down the line there, but I'm also going to ask you to, just for the folks that may, in Trey's audience, they may not have been introduced to you. Let's give just a little bit of background on who you are and your sort of photography ecosystem or constellation that's around you. So, Derrick, what do you do? What qualifies you to be on Trey's Variety Hour?
Man, people ask me that all the time. What do you do?
What do you do every day?
So, I mean, I have a photography business. I actually shoot on assignment. I do all that good stuff. I write a photography column for Macworld magazine and do reviews for them. And I do training videos for lynda.com, which I just love doing that stuff. And I run a site called The Digital Story, which is my weekly podcast and, all that good stuff. So, and then, there's a bunch of stuff that's related to that, but that's sort of the core of it all.
Very cool. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Yep. You're very busy and you're very qualified.
I am.
So thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, I'm going to turn the spotlight on Mr. Gavin Seim over there, who is Gavin. Again, thank you for coming on This Week in Photo earlier this week, and we did an interview which is gonna air hopefully in a week or so. But and now we get to hang out again on Trey's Variety Hour.
It's awesome.
People are going to talk again. I'm getting around. I don't know what's going on.
It's a double win. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm a little jealous, actually, Frederick. But
oh god, don't worry. All right, so Gavin, let's talk about just first off, let's flip it on how I did Derrick. So let's talk about just your history in photography a little bit, and like I said, to Derrick, what qualifies you to be on Trey's Variety Hour? Why are you a photographer?
Well, some people might concede that I'm not a photographer and I'm not qualified for anything. But setting that aside for a moment, I got into photography. It was back in the film days, actually, when I was 12, and I thought it was cool because I had a 35 millimeter EOS 3. Remember that one? Anyways, I started a business when I was 17 or 18, and kind of did the wedding thing and the portrait thing, and gradually over time have grown into doing the Pro Photo Show podcast, making tools and teaching workshops for photographers. On my Seim Effects line. And really the past few years, I guess what's really changed me is I've gotten a lot into studying, making large wall pieces, studying ways that we can take photography further than just, taking pictures and having them on hard drives and try and, reference back a little bit to history and 18th and 19th century art and beyond and just try and push ourselves. And that led into studying more with history, getting into 4x5. So, you mentioned, what do you miss about the darkroom and developing film? And I'm like, I don't miss so much because I just developed 4x5 negatives last week, and there's nothing like pulling that 4x5 negative out.
So you're going back to the future then, right?
A little bit. I mean, I'm still scanning. I'm doing digital. I'm a digital kid at heart. I just love what it's taught me and how it's made me slow down. And also the real reason I got into 4x5 was I wanted some more resolution for my really large wall pieces. And so, but it's been a great experience. So I like to play with things and try things, and I've kind of built my business around having time to tinker. So it's been a blessing.
Love it. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for that, Gavin. And before we move on to Martin Bailey, folks in the Hangout, you may notice that there's on the end there's a thumbnail video with, it looks like it's a camera shooting at a ceiling that's lit with purple light. That is the party. That is the Google Plus. So today was day 0, or the kickoff day for the Google Plus for Photographers Conference. And Trey is there he did a photo walk earlier today, and he's now at that party, which is why I'm hosting his show, to allow him to party. And so he's going to try to, at some point, show up at the party and come to the camera and talk to us. So we'll see if it all works out, but regardless, we have a feed coming in. So let's move down the line. Martin Bailey, welcome over.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. So let's start off. What makes you a photographer? Why are you a photographer? And then the second part of that is, what do you miss most, if anything, about the olden days of photography when we were, shooting on silver-based, light-sensitive materials?
Well, I got my first SLR. It's always tempting to say DSLR, but I got my first SLR some 21 years ago, and at the time I used to shoot Fujichrome Velvia film, the positive film, And that I never developed my own photographs, so I've never seen it come up in the chemicals and stuff, so I can't relate back to that. But what I learned from the earlier days was that with positive film, you had to nail the exposure in camera. You really had to make sure that it was you got it to within half a stop, or you were going to be really struggling with your images in the latter part of your process. But that gave me a good foundation to be someone that strives for quality in my images. And I started a podcast almost 7 years ago now. So a lot of where I've come from has been a good foundation in shooting with film, but I have embraced digital, and the whole sort of social networking and sharing has all played a big part in putting me where I am today, which is from 2 years ago. Photography is my only source of income. So I think I'm semi-qualified. I don't have the huge working background that a lot of professionals do, but I do a lot of assignment work. I do a lot of workshops and things like that, and I'm really enjoying my photographic life at the moment.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for coming on, man. I mean, this is, we're going to, as you saw in the outline, we're going to definitely get into some of that stuff. We're going to talk about printing and then versus now in terms of how you can, how sharing has changed. I mean, some of the things are obvious and some of them are not obvious. So we're going to go into a lot of that stuff. I think it's going to be a great conversation. So next, last but not least over there is Miss Sara France. How you doing, Sara? And thanks for coming on.
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm the only female on the show, so I'm here to represent.
Yes, you better represent, and that's why you're on the show, because you do represent so well. You're awesome. So what I'm asking this with a little bit of hesitancy because I know you're young, so you may not even know what film is. No, I'm saying that tongue in cheek. I know you know your way around cameras and all this stuff. So tell me, what do you miss about the olden days of photography versus today? As much as you can speak about the olden days.
Well, I have been shooting for 10 years at least, and I did start out on film, so I do have a little bit of background, but I definitely I didn't do any of the processing myself. I think that's probably one of the big things. But the thing that I really miss about the olden days is kind of the simplicity of the process in some ways on the back end when it came to the image, the post-production part of things, when it was like what you shot is what you got, a little bit. I mean, there was very little that you would do to the image, and I just loved how pure and simple and beautiful and classic the film images are still that I see a lot of times, and that they were. And I think also the thing I miss, at least creatively, is I used to shoot a lot of cross-process images. Mm-hmm. So I would shoot basically a roll at every wedding, and just kind of, that was really what you shot is what you got. I mean, it was so creative and different and unique, and you had to kind of know what you were doing when it came to shooting that. But if you nailed it, you would get something so cool and so different. And I still have some of those prints hanging in my house that I took on vacation and things like that. And I miss cross-process a little bit. I tried doing it in post-production, and it's just not the same. There's something that tells your brain, like, no, you're not supposed to make it really contrasty like that, or that little bit of difference. So I miss a little bit of like the mistakes that turned out so cool,
Yeah, the
it's
happy
like
accidents.
You don't make mistakes that much anymore, or if you do, you fix them or correct them. So I kind of miss that.
Sara France misses the mistakes. That's the quote. The quote of the night. Well, I have some extra ones I could lend you if you need some mistakes.
My images are just too perfect now.
Yeah. So okay. So just a little bit of background on you. So you're like I foreshadowed in the beginning. You're based in San Diego. Who is Sara France?
I'm mostly a wedding photographer. I do some commercial work as well. And I dabble in bag design. I have hosted podcasts in the past, but I don't currently. Now I just get on podcasts like this. So that's really nice. Yeah. I also do a lot of presenting and speaking, and I have a couple of training videos out on Aperture, on how to use Aperture. So
very cool.
That's a little bit about me.
Got a lot going on, just like everybody on the show. So that's
yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. So this is about me for the viewers and Trey's audience who don't know who I am. I'm Frederick Van Johnson. I host a podcast called This Week in Photo. I'm also a photographer and other stuff. If you want to know about me, go to my site, which we'll talk about at the end of the show, frederickvan.com. But that's who I am. But I want to get into this discussion. I want to jump in with both feet. Specifically, the next thing we're going to talk about is printing, then versus now. So, Martin, I want to start with you. And, guys, this is a conversation. So this is not this is not like a congressional inquiry where you guys can't talk until someone calls on you. So feel free to jump in whenever you want to talk. But I'll try to keep it balanced in round robin-ish as much as I can. But, you don't have to rely on me to call on you if you have something to say. But I wanted to start with Martin to kick the conversation off because, Martin, you literally wrote the book on printing. You have an ebook out on printing. So I want to ask you, and you are, by the way, singularly responsible for me taking out my Epson 3800 and putting it back into my guest room, and now I'm printing again on it because of you and your ebook. So. Well,
I'm glad you didn't just say you took it out and then put it back in the box. That would have been a shame.
It's heavy to put back in the box. It's a one retreat.
They're big.
Yeah. So let's talk about just then versus now in terms of printing. The obvious, like Derrick was saying, what he doesn't miss is like you develop a print and it's that whole process down the line of getting an image and you may or may not get something that you like. And like Derrick was telling me a while ago, it's not even repeatable, because all the variables change. The chemistry changes, the temperature in the room changes. Everything is different when you try to make another print. So the chances of you making an identical print are slim to none. So tell me, what do you miss, if anything, about being able to or having the option of doing a analog, say, based print process versus a digital workflow?
Well, yeah, like I said earlier, I was relatively young when I got into this, and unfortunately, my mum wouldn't let me paint the bathroom black to create my own little dark room when I was a kid. But yeah. When Derrick was talking about watching the image come up in the chemicals earlier, I started thinking about I've got so many photographs. It's crazy, so many photographs of prints coming out the front of my printer. It's like, and I think it kind of is. You can relate to that because you get a similar. Like I said, I've never done the chemical stuff, but I really love watching my prints come out the front of my printer. And yeah.
I'm sorry. Do you have any prints of prints being printed? I just had to ask.
I can make some.
That would actually be cool.
Yeah, it would. I've got some photos that I really like, actually. I don't know if you can see on the wall behind me. I've got some prints, gallery wraps that I've done, and I've got a few favorite photos that are actually those in reverse, with the snow monkey shot. It's got the head coming out backwards. It's kind of like my printer's giving birth to a snow monkey, but I generally, I enjoy that process. But I really do revel in the fact that we now have such excellent tools like Lightroom to, you can save. It's kind of the reverse of what Frederick and Derrick were saying. It's almost the reverse in that you can save a preset in Lightroom, saving all of your profile, the margin data, everything that you want to save in that print. You can just create a preset and reproduce it exactly the same every time. And I kind of like that reproducibility, but it's probably for me because I never did have that background of the chemical darkroom. And I wish I did. I certainly, I'm not one of these people that's going to say that it doesn't matter, because although I don't believe that my work would necessarily be any different if I'd got that background, I would have loved to have had the memories and at least been able to say that I did have a background with the chemical darkroom, and it may have helped me as well.
Yeah. Derrick, what about you? I mean, you have been in the dark room, and you probably still have some fixer flowing around in your blood. Do you miss like the print side of it? Do you miss anything about that, and do you plan on going back to maybe reminisce?
Well, I did like the printing side of it. The part I didn't like was developing film. That was always, a chore. We used the metal tanks with the spools that you had to kind of wind it on just right, complete darkness, the whole deal.
And then mess it up and redo it again, right?
Yeah, you got, you had to bow it just right to go in there. Yeah. I mean, that was, that part was pretty tedious. And then when I shot for newspapers for a long time, and the real big innovation in those days was instead of trays, they actually had a little machine that you could feed the paper in, a rapid printer they called it, and then it would come out the other side and it would be fixed. And we would use that because, the turnaround time for newspaper stuff was pretty fast.
Yeah.
So that, that was like high tech in those days. But if I missed anything at all about the chemical darkroom days, it was the actual process of printing. And I mean, Adams sort of said it in the sense that, the film is the sheet music and the printing process is the performance. And I really felt that way too. Yeah.
Very cool. There we go. Now, Mr. Gavin Seim over there, I know last time we talked, you were in love with a 4x5 negative that you had just made, or so. You may not have been like buried in the dark room for hours and hours, like people that came along before digital hit, but you were sort of moving in that direction in the reverse. So clearly you still love digital. I see the prints on your wall and all that, but you are now, like we were talking about, you're moving into the area of shooting more film. So why is that?
Studying the past has taught me a huge amount about just light and art and all that kind of stuff. And I guess I'm not trying to move back so much as trying to combine. I mean, I can foresee myself, we may have noticed in the news, like the Hassie H4Ds just dropped in price today or yesterday or something. So I can foresee myself eventually not doing film anymore. But I went to film initially because I said, hey, I want more resolution for these big prints. And printing is something that I've gotten pretty passionate about. I bought this 8300 back here. Canon 8300 is a 44-inch roll printer. And I'm sure most of us are familiar with that, but it's just amazing what it'll put out. So I guess to me, the one thing I think that I've learned by going back to that 4x5, even though I don't do that for everything. I mean, when I'm in the field, you'll usually see me out there with a 5D Mark II or something, and then a Linhof.
It's experimental, right?
It's experimental, but my goal is that, especially in the case of my pictorials, to get some of my best work on the film, because there's more resolution. I can scan that in and then work with it. And even on portraits, a lot of times I'll challenge myself on portrait sessions. And when you're on a senior portrait session and you pull out a Linhof and set that up, they're kind of like, whoa. And in fact, last year I had a session and they actually chose, out of all the images, they chose the one color 4x5 neg that I had made, and they bought a 40-inch canvas of that. So I think on the film and printing, to me, all that stuff kind of ties together to analyzing the process and that. It looks like we got somebody saying hi here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that Scott Kelby?
Yeah, that's Scott Kelby.
Is that Scott Kelby?
Somebody muted.
Hello. Hey.
There's Trey.
Hey, hello.
Kelby and Trey Ratcliffe. What are you doing in my hangout?
All right.
All right.
Welcome to
Trey's
Fred's
gonna
Variety.
take us for a ride. Hey, Trey, can you hear us?
You guys hear me, or was I muted?
Yes, sir.
We can hear you. Yep.
We hear you.
We hear you.
We hear you.
We hear you.
Okay, sorry.
We hear you.
Look, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I'm sure it is amazing. I'm going to interrupt just for a short moment to show you around the party, and we can say hi to some people, and then we'll go back to whatever the hell you guys were talking about. That was amazing. Okay. So just a moment here. Let's go say hello to people. Oh, look. There he is right there. Scott Kelby.
Scott Kelby.
Hi, Scott.
Use human words.
Hi. Oh, we can use human words. Hey, you're missing a lot of cheese.
Yeah. Many ways to interpret that.
Your dad.
All right, what do we got going on here?
Frederick.
So tell us about this conference, Scott.
Well, Trey's here, and that's really all you need to know. Trey's here. All the people are hanging around Trey, saying stuff like, "Hi, Trey."
Yeah.
Trey Fest.
Are you in his
Well,
circle?
that's not true. Okay, let's go see what else is going on here at the party besides Scott and Kelby.
All right. Good luck. Have a good tour.
Okay, we'll go. I understand that Alex is over here, so I'm going to say hello to Alex. I'll aim the camera away from me. You guys have seen enough of me. Look, there's Nicole. There she is. There's Nicole. Hey, there's Ryan. Hey, Ryan, what's going on? Hey, Scott Bourne, how are you?
Scott Bourne is in the house.
Here's Scott Bourne.
Hi, Scott.
Can you please say something offensive to everybody?
Hi. I think you should listen to Trey Rackman.
And here's the power couple of photography.
Hey.
Nicole S. Young and Brian Matiash.
Nice.
That
Look at
is a
that.
big glass of wine.
Hey.
Nicole and on one.
Nice to see you guys.
All right, let's go see someone else. Good seeing you. I'll be back in a little while. All right. Oh, here. How are you doing? Good. We're doing a live hangout here.
Hey, it's Matt Kloskowski.
See you. Well, here's everybody.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
We got Derrick. Hey, Derrick Story.
Hey, Matt. How you doing, man?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Matt, you're frozen.
We're going to have to look into space forever.
And
It's
they
so nice
froze.
meeting you.
Look at that.
Weeks ago on
Oh, wait,
here,
they're
we
back.
got Frederick Van
There we go,
Johnson.
they're back.
Uh-oh. Are we frozen up? I froze everything. Frozen.
Move to a better spot.
It's my number one man to fix. I was going to get you
We can
live.
hear them.
It's broken.
We hear you. We hear
Yeah,
you.
we can hear you guys.
Yeah, we hear you, but you're not moving.
I'm just going to keep it frozen on Matt's face.
That's awesome. He looks a little like Keanu Reeves in that shot right there.
Wow, there we go.
Oh. So shy.
Back. Okay, let's say hi to Alex and his lovely wife.
Hey, Alex and his lovely wife.
Virginia.
So, where did you come from today, Alex? Or yesterday?
From Atlanta.
From Atlanta.
Yeah. It was cold here and it was not there.
And you came with your whole family. Who came?
Oh, yeah. 2 daughters, twin, Lijah, Sonia. They're having fun now in the kids club. And we have company.
How many drinks have you had?
That's my first juice and from the
Good to see you. We'll catch up later. We're showing people the party here. Gotta see who else is around. Follow me, Curtis.
Yeah, you're there. You got too far from here.
What's that?
You got too far from this.
Oh, I did yesterday. Interstate 9. See who else is going here? So they're having a contest to see who the winner is. People that came submitted photos, and we all have these ballots that we have to vote on. Very nice photos everywhere. That's people don't know this, but that's what Frederick Van Johnson looks like from the back.
You know, I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. Trey could not resist that.
That's a little known fact about Frederick Van Johnson. That's what it looks like from the back. Okay, what else is going on here? Hello?
Hey.
Hello, we're making people feel bad about not being at the party. Hello. How's it going? What's Lijah's girlfriend where? Okay. Here's the cheese from the wine and cheese party. That's there. Hello, hello.
Have you got some brie for RC?
Hello, hello.
I know.
Ah, here's Petra from Google. Hello. You're on live on YouTube Live. All kinds of wonderful photographers on here. So, Petra, tell us what you do at Google. Tell us all about you.
I'm a software engineer in Google San Francisco. On Google Wang.
and who also are a photographer. In white.
Nice to meet you.
Well, of course.
Are you?
Tell people what kind of photos you like to take.
I like to take motion. I like to capture motion.
And where can people see your work?
I actually what you do, and it's cross.com, and it's cross like, you know what Jesus is on?
Yes, I remember. Yeah. That's a good way to remember it. Very cool.
Some people don't know if it's like KRO or, you know, they don't know Trey.
And Trey. Hello, ladies. Hello. Yes.
Well, he lives in New Zealand now, but I live
On YouTube, yes.
I can hold it for you.
No, it's okay. Where are you from? Grasvalley.
She is a outstanding New Zealand.
Oh. And where can all the fine people watching see your work? Really? You don't put it on Google Plus?
We've never even you don't even know anything about Google Plus yet.
Neither do I.
That's why we're here.
What are we doing here?
I'm here with those free cheese.
I heard about the cheese.
So I have a talk on Wednesday night.
This is like Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Which is a ridiculous thing.
It tells you what it is.
Let's go see you. We're live on YouTube to millions of people right now. Yes. Yes.
And then I run away.
Get out, get out.
Oh no, I'm wanted by the law.
What else is going on here? Oh, here's Colby Brown over here. Let's go say hi to Colby.
Mr.
Hey, Colby.
Brown.
Here you go. You're live on YouTube.
How's everyone doing?
Good, Kelby.
Derrick Story.
Hey, Colby. How you doing, man?
I don't know you, but hello.
We have Sara France there. France. And then
we got the Tony. We got to have the Tony.
We got a couple scrubs there on the right.
Yeah. Oh man, he did not just call you scrub.
How's everyone doing?
Hey, Colby.
I'm glad that you are here.
And how was your photo walk today?
It was excellent. We had a great show. We had, I don't know, 40, 50 people show up at Union Square. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Just as the party was getting going.
Yeah.
I know. Where's our wine?
All I want to say is, looking at that party, I think the party is here.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Right here, this is the party.
Oh, they're back.
We'll see what else is going on here.
See you guys. Hasta luego.
I'll talk to you more later.
I read the business.
Yes.
We don't have cheese, though.
Hello.
I have wine.
Yes.
That wine?
Thank you. Where are you from?
I'm from India, but Los Angeles now.
Okay.
A little higher.
So you're live on
higher.
people see your work.
There you go.
There we go.
I'm G+, AJ Javeri.
AJ Javeri.
Yeah, G+. And what caught my eye about you the
I'm
first time
G+.
I dig it.
Ah.
I said,
Wow.
I've been there 100 times. I'm from
A little
there.
higher.
Who shot this picture?
Thank you
I
very
like
much.
looking at the beard. That's so good.
It's a good thing it's not a girl we're looking at. That would
There's no cheese in it, at least.
This is classic. I love it.
Sorry. We'll have these kind of discussions later. I'll show you guys the rest of the party. We'll talk more later. I'm sorry. Hello. Over here? Okay. Sorry, I'm being directed around. Where are we going? Okay, follow me over here.
And there's more.
Oh, here's look.
Sarah.
Hello.
Hey.
Are you guys a new power couple here, or?
No.
Well, we have an announcement today.
Well, I see. And how was your photo walk today, Chris?
How was your photo?
Great. Yeah. But I can't be objective about it. Where did you go?
We did the Union Square one.
Okay. It was a nice time. Yeah. Good. Good. And you're excited about the conference?
Yes, I am.
Good. We're making everybody here feel bad about that.
I know. The conference
What's that red light going on?
Gotta take it.
This Mac has an autofocus light.
Here's Peter Adams over here. Let's say hi to the great Peter Adams. Hello, Peter. How are you?
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Good.
Hello.
How was your photo walk today?
My photo walk was excellent. We did a excellent group photo and a lot of good shooting around San Francisco, the Embarcadero.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Good time. There was dogs and balls and model shoots. And
Yeah.
we even got kicked out of somewhere.
Yeah.
We did.
Right on.
We got kicked out of the Berry building. We got kicked out of.
Different photo shoot let's get kicked out of somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, Peter, where
That's
can people
what
see your work?
say.
PeterAdamsPhoto.com. We're on Google Plus. Peter Adams.
Great. Okay, I'll let you guys go in a second. I'll just give you a final look around. Yes. Here's Sly Vegas.
Hi, Googleverse.
Hey, Sly.
Hello, we're live on
Sly.
now.
How you doing, everybody?
Good. Did you have a nice photo walk today?
Yeah, fabulous. We had a good time today out there.
We had a very good time.
Yeah, the Embarcadero was beautiful.
Yes, thank you for everything. That was a wonderful event.
Thank you too, Trey. Last.
And here's Charlie Blake. Okay, there's so far you'll notice I've only showed you 2 girls because they're the only 2 girls in this party. Miss Charlie is girl number 2 at this party.
I think that's enough.
So, hello, how are you?
I'm quite well, thank you.
Good. Did you have a nice photo walk today?
Trey is awesome.
I was accidentally aiming the camera not very well, so.
Right. Yes.
No, you're doing very well, thanks, Trey.
Trey. You're doing awesome.
One final look around, and then we'll let you guys go.
Whoa. Got to really hang on those swings there.
My wife may be watching here, so.
Oh my God.
This is like the Blair Witch Project G+.
People are judging the photos over here. All sorts of things going on. Hello, you guys. Live on YouTube. Hello.
I see Prince.
Cool. Okay, let me get in front of some good lighting. Okay. All right. I apologize for interrupting. I hope you guys saw some familiar faces. And
We did.
Exciting. Thank you, Fred, for doing the show. I can't hear a word you guys are saying, if anything at all. Thank you. I'll now send you back to your regularly scheduled broadcast.
All right, Trey. Thank you.
See you,
Bye,
Trey.
Trey. Bye-bye.
Oh, man. That
Anyway,
was
I'll just
awesome.
leave it on, and we'll just mute, okay?
Yep.
Yeah, mute is good.
Yeah, mute is good. Wow, that's unprecedented. I got it.
Whose chest are we looking at now?
Anyway.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, that was
That's just
great.
Trey. Okay, that's Trey. That's good. That's good.
That was great. I just got to say that was really good.
I
Okay.
knew that was gonna happen.
No other comments on that. That was interesting.
Where were we?
No further
Where were
comments, Your Honor.
So Prince, huh?
I did see some Prince there. I was when he mentioned that they were like judging. It looked like people were judging Prince, and I was like, "Yes, this is a real get together."
Yeah, I'm lost now. I forgot what we were talking about. There was something that I don't know.
I think we were talking about printing and just things related to it.
Yes. Okay, so were you on stage, right, Gavin?
I think so, but I think I pretty much. I mean, we can move on. Otherwise, we're probably going to run late. Bottom line is, I'm really loving printing. I think that just sending everything to the lab and just kind of settling for what we get, whatever luster or whatever new wrap product or this or that. I mean, getting in and really being able to print your own. I mean, I run off 24-inch prints as proofs because I can't. Once you see it in print, it's not the same as seeing it on the screen. I can sit here on this big old 30-inch cinema display, and I can spend an hour like looking at it at 100%, and then I'll make a print of it, and I'll say, how did I miss that? So, I mean, aside from the different mediums, there's just something about printing and getting it into that tangible product. I think prints are, for the most part, what's relevant to history. You don't go into a museum and see hard drives. Well, unless it's a computer museum.
Well, you know what? Let's unpack that a little bit, Sarah. From the standpoint of releasing your bits from the hard drive and getting them on the wall or an album and all that, conversely, looking at digital and just people sharing things on Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus and that sort of thing. Are you seeing these social networks and services that I can see everything that you shot last night in a couple of minutes and not have to worry about a physical print? Are those services just eroding away at, like, in your business, a traditional wedding? You get a print, you make some wall-mounted stuff and all that thing.
Well, people are enjoying images differently than they used to, so that's definitely happening. But I think in my business, things have changed a little bit. Like, they used to, in order to enjoy an image at all, they would have to print it, and that was the way that they enjoyed it. So print sales are, for 4x6, 5x7, 8x10s are pretty much non-existent these days. So what I'm finding more so is, what are the innovative ways that your clients want to enjoy their images, and a lot of my clients are still really wanting their album. So, I would say probably about 70% of my clients do wedding albums. So they're still really appreciating the art form, but really our products now are becoming albums and unique pieces of art that they can put on their wall. So,
Sarah, I remember back when the iPad just was introduced, you were one of the first people to start delivering iPads to clients, weren't you? Weren't you like putting albums on iPads and giving them to as part of your offering?
We were actually delivering video iPods. That's how far back I started the process.
Wow. Video iPods. Oh, wow.
Video iPods, before iPads were even around. So we were basically loading the images onto video iPods and delivering them at the end of a wedding. And the clients were taking them with them. So that was kind of, that was, 6 years ago, maybe?
Yeah. And then after the honeymoon, they'd have to put them in a box and mail the iPods back to you.
Yeah. It was just it was archaic. But at the same time, they had their images after that, and then they would basically reload it themselves. So that was, they'd erase it and make it their own. But I had a couple clients who just I'm not erasing this. It's perfect like it is. All that was on it was the images.
Just their photos.
Kind of funny. Yeah, that was it. So I really feel like the printing is still something that they're enjoying, but in a different way. So we have to embrace and understand what it is that our clients want now, but more so what they're going to want in the future. And I agree. I agree with Gavin. Really, that printed medium, there's nothing like it. So there's still a place for that, but what we have to kind of continue to figure out and help clients figure out for themselves is what that looks like in their home, what it looks like in those places that they enjoy it. Mostly it's their home for my kinds of clients, but commercial clients are trying to look for unique art pieces and ways to display images in, their commercial space. So it's anything from metal to glass to, a lot of these unique ways that you can kind of make images and really just a straight print. But a lot of clients are looking for something unique and different now.
Sarah, can I throw a slight? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Can I throw a slight curveball at you and just kind of want to see your thoughts? What to me, what we're seeing is, admittedly, the industry's crowded. A lot of people love photography, and everybody, that love photography seems to want to be in the business. So there's a lot going on out there, and it seems like the consumer value, even though yes, people appreciate images on Facebook and on blogs and things like that, and they're relevant, and discs, they have their place and all that kind of stuff. But do you think that what they really appreciate and that the value of those, because they're so inundated with them, they're seeing so many of them, and it's just like streaming through all the time, versus it's more rare if these days to walk into someone's living room and there's a 40-inch print on canvas, or there's a metal or something like that. Mm-hmm. And do you think that in terms of the market and where it's going, because the rest, dare I say, is getting so easy. It's not easy to do it well, but it's out there and it's all over the place. It almost feels like the consumers are losing track of the difference between a really good photo on Facebook and just a snapshot. And how does that affect our market, in your opinion, going forward, which is kind of personally why I really am into the print. But what do you think about that?
Well, I think there is still really a difference, and my clients know the difference of that for sure. They see the real difference of it, but it doesn't mean they're going to enjoy the social media any less than what they're enjoying. But the real difference is in they used to enjoy 4x6s and 5x7s the way that they now enjoy social media images. Right. In my opinion.
I love that.
So
I love that.
That's fair. Now, what we're talking about is like, okay, we're not talking about 4x6, 5x7, 8x10s anymore, like pretty much at all. If they want them, they'll get them printed. So the things that we've been looking at is how we can help them enjoy images like on their iPhones, on their iPads, and all those places that they're enjoying the images there. And then what products can we introduce them to that they don't have access to or aren't currently inundated with? So, for instance, I don't really carry that many canvas prints because they can get a canvas print at Costco. So I don't sell canvas. I mean, I have the canvas prints, but my clients never want them. They want the thing that they haven't seen. Or, my creative eye is kind of like, okay, we did this really cool thing. We can do it on wood, or we can do it on this metal or with glass. So they have modern homes. They want unique pieces of art is what we're trying to sell them, as opposed to selling them like a loose 4x6 or 5x7.
Love it. Derrick, did social media kill the 4x6?
And thankfully.
Exactly.
I have hours and hours back in my life.
I went through the process about a year ago because I've been shooting for so many years. I just had so much stuff. I went through a process where I actually threw away boxes and boxes and boxes of 4x6s. I had gone through them. I pulled out the ones that I wanted to hang on to, and everything else had to go. I was tired of lugging them around, and I like having it in digital format much better. That being said, though, and I was listening to what Sara was saying, I think that for you personally as a photographer, as an artist, that one of the ways that you can separate yourselves from, the great mass of photography is to make excellent prints, to make nice, big, 13 by 19 inch, a beautiful, if you have a portfolio of beautiful 13 by 19 inch prints that you can show anyone, or if you have them on the wall at your place, you have separated yourself from many, many, many photographers. And I still think printing today, whether if you do it out of an Epson 3800 or R2000, whatever you happen to be using, if you doing that, if you see it all the way through, you take the shot and you see it all the way through to a beautiful piece of paper, you are in the top 10% of photographers out there.
Right on.
Yeah. Martin, I'm looking behind you, and you've got a beautiful printer back there on your left, and then on your right there's a gigantic printer that stretches out of the frame. So when was the last time you printed a 4x6 to give to someone?
It was last November.
Wow. You remember?
So here's the thing. I think that it kind of ties in with, what we're doing as photographers, and like Sarah's catering to a type of customer that wants a certain thing, and another group of people may want something else. And I think that it's important to know what your own customers want. And for sure, Sarah's creating exactly what her clients want. Mine have, I do two things. To me, printing is two things. It's my printing for printing my nature and wildlife work, which is more fine art, and I sell individual prints to people that just want that work. Yeah. But I also do portrait work as a part of my business, and those people want a different kind of print. And what I'm doing is I'm providing those guys with really good quality prints, but they do still sometimes, they'll ask for a few big ones, but they're also sometimes still here in Japan. They'll say, and we want a bunch of 4x5s as well, or 5x7. And so I actually do recall the last one because it was followed a portrait shoot last year in November. I think the last time I printed them was December time. But what I actually did was I printed them on 24-inch roll paper on that thing behind us, and then I just used a rotary cutter, and cut them out. So I was.
It's almost like, looking, if someone has been in your office there and they've seen all the prints on the wall and the giant printers in the background, and then one day you give them a 4x6, it's almost like a passive aggressive insult, right?
Well, I mean, you guys know. I mean, Derrick just mentioned the 13 by 19-inch portfolio. I was posting on G Plus a few weeks ago, and I think I mentioned on TWiT as well. I bought a Pina Zangaro, it's a Camden aluminum portfolio case, and I populated that with some 50 13 by 19-inch prints, and my clients are loving them.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
You walk in with a presentation like that, and although obviously they're saying, "Oh yeah, we love your work," but they're also asking questions about the print, the process. The first person that I showed it to was actually the chief editor of a major landscape and nature photography magazine here in Japan, and he was all over it. And he was not only praising me for my work, but he was asking what sort of paper I used, why I used matte over gloss, and lots of different questions. So it puts you in, Derrick. I mean, I'm happy to say that I'm in that 10% that Derrick mentioned, because that's exactly what I took to my client.
You might be a little higher percentage than that, Martin, but we'll keep moving.
You're too kind, Derrick. But no, I mean, it all really comes down to what your clients want, and that is on so many levels. We all have a whole number of different clients. We have people that buy fine art prints from us. We have people that have had us shoot their portraits and want something to hang on the wall. And there are people that want stock images and things as well. But one thing that I wanted to just quickly come back on before we move to someone else is Gavin earlier mentioned doing proofs on 24-inch. And we had a topic on one of my live hangouts that I did yesterday about pixel peeping being an evil word, and I really don't think it is. And there's two things about it. Of course, the image itself, without it being a beautiful, artistic, well-composed image in the first place, you don't have any reason to pixel peep because it's not going to make your final cut anyway. Sure. But if you're going to print something at 24 by 36 inches, then you better get in there and pixel peep and just make sure that you've got all of your dust out there. You make sure that it's critically sharp where it needs to be. Because once you've spent $15 on actually printing that thing, and you find that little piece of dust that you missed, it's like, I have 24 by 36 inch prints, which are basically now printer covers, because I missed a few little pieces of dust and stuff like that. So pixel peeping is not a bad thing if you're going to be creating large work from that. And
I agree so easy to miss things.
It is. I agree that you don't have to pixel peep if all you want to do is create work for the web. But if you're going to print it, you better make sure that it's at the quality that you want to pass over to your customers.
No, Martin, we talked about this before. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Derrick.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to finish that point, which is exactly why printing puts you in a different category, right? For all the things that he just said.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was gonna add on to that. So Martin, and we talked about this before on This Week in Photo, but for this audience, can you explain why you decided to invest money in the hardware and the ink and all that stuff to have have your printers with you in the same room rather than just sending off the data to a lab and having them print it and send you back a box of glorious whatever size mounted and all that,
Well, part of it is because for me, part of my product is fine art prints that I've created. And I know that we'll never, unless we actually get back into the studio, we'll never get back to the original meaning of the word original print. where the artist actually printed them. But I still like to position even digital prints in that way, in that I am the one that has gone through and pixel peeped. I'm the one that soft proofed it. I'm the one that's actually cared for it as it came out the printer, and then checked it to make sure that there are no dust spots. If I was to just allow people to buy things directly from our website, which I can do from PhotoShelter, via a third-party printing service, and they order a 24 by 36 or a 40 by 60, and it's got a dust mark on it that I missed, then I'm going to be kicking myself. I don't want that kind of quality on people's walls. They probably wouldn't tell me about it, but I want to be able to look at it when it comes out of the printer and inspect it and say, oh, damn, I missed that. And then I'll spend another $15 to create a new copy, or what, however much. I mean, depending on the paper, these things can be like $25. I would rather be the one that can do that. Plus, I can also sign them and package them myself and make sure that the quality is there from start to finish.
Now, Sara France, you obviously come down on a different side, maybe not a completely different side of the fence, but maybe on top of the fence, because you send your images out, and you have a lab that does all the processing and printing, and of course you work very closely with that lab on quality control, and they know exactly what a Sara France print looks like, but you don't have a bunch of printers in your house that you're creating your albums on. How do you reconcile that with what Martin and Gavin are saying about creating having that personal thumbprint on each image that goes out?
Well, it comes down to what he prefaced it with, which is your clients and who you're creating for and what you're creating for. So there's a million different kind of photographers, and this conversation is different for every single one of them. Print is different in the wedding market and in the commercial market completely. I went out to the Palm Springs Photo Festival and hung out with a bunch of commercial and fine art photographers, and I was floored with how different the experience was for them and how important printing was to them and was for them. So it's a very different industry and market. So for us, based on what our clients are looking for and how we're best servicing the wedding clientele, we're looking still for unique ways to do things for the clients, which may end up bringing us to printing our own images one of these days. But right now, our clientele is looking for, they're looking for the fast images, they're looking for easy access, they're looking for social media type stuff, and then they're looking for an heirloom. It might be, I have a gigantic prints in my studio and in my house. So we do, I always, sorry, my big light went off. I always say the biggest print wins. Just because I had a print in my house that a friend had given to me who was a landscape photographer, and it's beautiful and gigantic, right? So they walk all through my house and they see all my wedding images, everything's gorgeous. They get to this one landscape shot and they're like, that is amazing, and I'm like, you just saw all of my work and all you want to talk about is the one image in my house that's not mine, And I determined right then the biggest print wins. Not that his work wasn't.
Well, Avedon based a whole career on that notion right there, and it worked.
You know what? I want to
behind that. I think bigger is better. That's all.
Can I just add one last thing? And obviously we can continue to build on this, but I did want to also say, and I think this is something I mentioned before on TWiT as well, is that another major reason that I've made this part of my business is because I enjoy printing. And I'm sure that that's part of what it's like with Gavin and also with Derrick as well, in that we enjoy the process. And so if I can build my business and make part of my income from doing something that I love doing, then that's a big thing to me. And that's also kind of part of the reason why I wrote my book, in that I wanted to make, I know that a lot of people have tried printing, especially in the earlier years, and had a bad experience and decided that it wasn't for them. And I've heard from so many people since releasing the book that people are getting back into printing because I kind of removed all of the mist and fog around it. It's not as difficult as it used to be, And once people get back into it, they generally seem to enjoy it.
Hey, Martin, what's the name of your book and where can people get that?
It's thank you very much, Dave. It's called Making the Print, and it's from Craft and Vision. It's one of David Duchamin's series.
Yep, and it's like $5, right?
Yeah, $5, 65 pages. It's one of their masterclass books. So yeah, there's a lot of information in there.
If you're a photographer and you have an iPad, it should be on your iPad.
Absolutely, yeah. Hey,
Frederick, can I? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Gavin. Go ahead.
Can I just throw back really quick, and I won't be long-winded, but Sarah touched on something that I thought was really important when she was talking, because she talked about the canvas, the inkjet gallery wrap, the giclée, and how she's not really that into those. She doesn't do a lot of those. It's not what her clients tend to go for because it's kind of a high volume thing. I mean, we can get those at Costco and Walmart now, and I think that it's really valid to consider. Even not that everybody has to do it my way, but we need to add value one way or the other. In my studio, there's not a single giclée canvas on the wall. If I make a canvas, I do it the old way that has been around for like 50 years, where you make a print and then you send it. I send it actually to canvasmount.com. There's this company down in Yakima, and they do it the traditional way. They strip the backing off the paper, you send them a print, and they mount it to a canvas, this really heavy canvas, and then they put 4 or 5 coats of lacquer on it. And when you're done, you got this print that you can slam on with your knuckles and wash with Windex. And they actually have a video of their process on their site. But whether you do it that way or whether you use metals or whatever is kind of an approach to do, I think it's relevant to consider this. You know, the gallery wrap, or it may be nice, maybe it's fine, but there is a perception there. I think there's a way that people have kind of come to think about it, because it's kind of high volume. It's kind of everywhere. You buy a 50-inch gallery wrap for your bedroom at IKEA for $49. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or you see a Groupon for one.
Yeah,
Anytime
exactly.
you see a Groupon for something, remove it from any of your product lists.
Yeah. Derrick, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just thinking of a wild idea. I've been actually playing with this idea for a while. So do you guys know the Brent Weston story, what he did at the end of his career?
No, tell it.
What he is pretty interesting, and I actually think there's a parallel today. So what he did was he burned everything, all of his work, except for the stack of prints that he really thought was good. Wow. Everything else went, because his thinking was, and there's actual video, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. There's actual video of him, like, literally burning, these prints. Where you're going, give that to me, please. And so I was thinking, what a wild idea to only, to be in control and to leave only your best work behind. And, the archival quality of printing, of course, can outlast, a lot of digital images, depending on how digital is stored. And I was thinking, wouldn't that be wild, just in my own case, if the only thing, when I get to a certain point where I feel the clock winding down, is to get rid of all the digital stuff, and then whatever I have printed up until that point, that was the stuff that was going to survive.
I challenge you, Derrick Story, to do that. I challenge you.
That's adding value.
So Derrick, let's hang with you for a second. So let's switch the topic and talk a little bit about how the internet has changed your style and the subject matter of what you shoot. From rewind back a few years to when the internet hadn't proliferated to where it is today with all these social networks and different photo sharing services, to now. How has that changed you as a photographer in terms of what you like to shoot and what you do actually shoot?
Well, I think the real thing for me, what the internet has done, is it has allowed me to do what I want to do more. And what I mean by that, when I was working, I've worked with a lot of great companies over the year. Riley Media, I worked with them for quite a while. Mm-hmm. It was all online stuff. And the online work has provided a revenue stream for me to allow me, when I go shoot, I only take jobs that I want and I only shoot what I want. So for me, the internet has been really, I think in a lot of ways, made my career wonderful. And I think also in terms of photographers sharing ideas and sharing images, I think it's been fantastic for that. So, when I was much younger, we would go to camera club meetings, once a month, and I would read a lot of magazines and books and go to art galleries, and that was pretty much it. Whereas now, any time of day or night, I can tune in and find great photography or find someone talking about photography. So I think that part of it I really like a lot. For me, it's been almost all good.
Yeah. Hey, Gavin, I want to ask you the same question. You know, how has photography or how's the internet specifically changed your shooting? And then another twist on that I want to throw at you is, do you, like, back in the day, I used to go in the bookstore and buy photo magazines, you know, and just like, oh, look at all these cool shots in there and different techniques and all that stuff. And I still do from time to time, but not as much as I did before. Do you do that? And then, you know, so that's the second part of the question. Has the internet changed the way you shoot? And are you you still buy dead trees in the bookstore?
I you know what? I'm a print guy, so I do love paper, and I don't get as much chance to read as much as I'd like. But yes, I mean, if I'm, you know, I'll get in that mood where I'll go to Borders or I'll go to Hastings or something and pick up the latest outdoor photographer or 4x5 magazine maybe or whatever.
Yeah.
And so while I guess it's changed the way I consume, in that, you know, I consume a lot of things online and I see a lot of things. I mean, you know, I'm young and I'm in that internet generation, and I totally relate to that.
You're not that young. I see that beard.
The beard helps. The beard helps. In terms of how I make images, though, I think over time, initially maybe the internet kind of, I fell into that groove of, you know, take lots of photos and post them to the internet. And as I've gone forward and you know, gotten more into refining my process, you know, doing a bit of large format and doing more with wall pieces and trying to narrow down to more of a fine art, the internet has kind of led me to posting less, because the internet, I always, you know, more and more the internet got so prevalent with, you know, here's a blog post of, I went to the Grand Canyon on a photo walk this morning and here's 4,000 photographs from that. And it kind of took me to the other extreme of, okay, I went to the Grand Canyon this morning. This is the one single photograph that I felt was relevant to convey what I felt. So in a way, it's kind of funneled me towards, you know, thinking it through more and trying to add more impact, just to stand out, I guess. Am I answering the question right?
Yeah. That's totally, that's interesting that you take that tack on it, because a lot of people go the exact opposite. You're like,
exactly.
Oh, I have the internet and I have Flickr. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use the internet and the crowd as my filter. So I'm going to throw everything I have up there, and they will tell me what the good shot is.
Well, and the photographers seem to be sometimes, to me, it's undecisiveness, especially if you're dealing with a client on this level. I mean, obviously, if I photograph a wedding, I'm going to be showing them more than one photo. But I do know a really amazing family portrait photographer.
This is what you get.
That does just that.
Wouldn't it be awesome to be that photographer? Sarah used to do that.
I know
this is your print.
Shut up.
I know of a family portrait photographer, and his clients trust him to that point where he shows them one image, and that's what they buy for their wall. And there's something to be said for that. When you hired a painter, they didn't make you 100 paintings. You know, you trusted them to make you your masterpiece.
That's true.
I agree with you.
It's really changed the way I work, because now I go out and I might spend an hour, I might spend 2 hours setting up for a single frame instead of, well, I'm going to go for a walk and take photos and hope I get something good. And it's changed everything about the way I see.
I love that mindset. Yeah, because last time we talked, you had the mindset of just the artisan and, you know, not so much, okay, I have this technology, therefore, you know, I have a camera that shoots 9 million frames a second, so I have to shoot 9 million frames a second.
Quantity doesn't make us better. It's like, you know, more chisels won't make you Michelangelo.
That's true. Martin, what about you? I mean, the internet, and, you know, what would you say the major impact on you and your shooting style has been now that you have the globe as your audience?
And I think it works two ways. My work has changed, and I hope improved so much just from seeing what everyone else has done. It raises your bar for you. You know, when you go on sites like 500px and stuff like that, and you see some of the amazing work that others are making, it's like, oh, geez, I've got to up my game here. You know, and although I've always studied a lot, I've always tried to improve my craft, my artistic sensitivities. I think that it still gives us a real good kick up the butt when you see what other people are making, especially. I mean, and this comes down that the people that empty their CF card onto Flickr are the ones that, you know, they're not even going to get you to look at their work, because you're going to get sick of it after two or three of the same shot. Yeah. So that doesn't really bother me. But when you see a really, really good, finely tuned portfolio on somewhere like 500px, it's like, okay, this is the inspiration that I need to up my game.
It's called jealousy mode, and then you want to go out and do better.
Yeah.
Jealously
but
slash inspiration, right? Yeah.
Right. The other thing, though, that directly improved my work was that I mentioned earlier I started my own photography podcast. I think it seems the same year that Derrick did.
There's a thread on Google Plus. I think yours was 3 months before mine.
Yeah,
2005.
But it was a lot. I mean, we were like some of the first people to start this, and it was. I found that the way I did my podcast was I used my own work to explain what I did and share techniques with people. And obviously, there's marketing reasons for why I did it that way. But to begin with, I mean, really, it was just because I wanted to share and hopefully and pass on what I'd learned from the web. And what I found was that as I started to do that, all of the shoots after I started doing the podcast were like I was running through checklists in my mind. I was, okay, so I'm going to talk about this in the podcast. And what I would do I would find myself going through these checklists and correcting mistakes that I could have made before I even made them. And so I'd be working through this whole checklist of things, and it just sort of it upped my game as a photographer in that it made me realize what I was going to do, the stupid things that I was going to do that I wouldn't be able to talk about before I did them in the field, and then that reflected in my work. And if people look at the first few years of my work that I started doing the podcast, it was okay, but nowhere near as good, hopefully, as what I'm making for the last few years. And hopefully that's going to continue to be the case. Just continue to improve. And I think also during that time, a lot of it will have been organic because the internet was feeding me so much inspiration over the last few years as well. So I think it all plays in together. It makes us better in so many ways on so many levels.
Totally. Sara France, notwithstanding the ease of use of being able to distribute your images fast and easily, going from film, when you had that workflow to go from the wedding day to the album or to the proof book, I presume back then, right? To the proof book.
Proofs.
To the proofs, to selections, to the album and redos and all that stuff. The internet itself, how has it changed you as a shooter? Like, has it fundamentally changed when you're running through a wedding? Has it changed what you see and what you feel like you're going to shoot?
I'm trying to think if it has. I mean, I'm sure it definitely has because, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a girl, so I spend a lot of time on Pinterest. I don't know if that's a bad thing.
We're not girls. We're not girls.
I don't know about you guys.
See the spirit?
But I'm a girl. Okay.
Yes.
But like let's just talk about even like seeing images on Pinterest, just there, 500 pics, wherever you go to enjoy images. Like I run across so many images that give me ideas for poses or ideas for lighting or, inspiration just from so many different places that didn't exist even a year ago. I mean, it's amazing. Like I can remember I did an engagement shoot recently and I pulled a bunch of inspiration and pulled it into a Pinterest site and I had it there on my iPad ready to go to be like, oh yeah, I remember I wanted to do something with a shadow today and I wanted, I had kind of all these ideas and inspiration from it. So it definitely has changed my life, and in that has changed, visually how I see things, where I get inspiration from, and how it also, I think just, when you're putting images out for clients, I don't know about your clients, but all of my clients are like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I love it. But you put it up there for a photographer to see, another, like your peers, and that's it's a different thing. You know that 5,000 photographers are going to look at that image when you post it on Facebook. You pay a little bit more attention to like detail and what you're doing, and it does definitely up your game. It's like there's a little bit of accountability there that you're producing great work, and people can see and know that that's the case or not the case pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the whole thing and how fast all this stuff is moving it's scary and exhilarating at the same time. So, Sarah, let's keep it on you for a second. So, I want to segue into print services, or not print services, but online sharing services. So, photographers today have a myriad of different things that they can choose from. It goes everywhere from thank you, Dave, Smug Mug to Flickr question mark now to
hey,
I didn't make it Y on the resume.
Upset Derrick.
Don't get the shovel out yet.
So, the shovel is, I mean, come on. Yeah, we're hammering nails in the casket. Anyway, so from Smug Mug to Flickr to 500 pics to all these different services. Sarah, which one should photographer, if you had to pick one, your desert island choice of photo sharing services, which one would you pick?
Oh my gosh, that's
you gotta
so
pick one.
hard.
You can't look at Dave's red hat over there, the Smug Mug hat.
Gosh, I don't know. Like the photo sharing thing. I'm gonna go back a little bit to what I said before, in that it depends on what kind of photographer you are. Yeah. So my photo sharing thing of choice is not going to work for any.
Well, look, what's yours?
Other than a wedding photographer.
What's yours? You're a wedding photographer.
Currently, we are using a service called Pass, which is Pass, PASS.
Okay, I never heard of Pass.
It's by Show It.
Oh, okay.
So Pass, David
J's company. Got it.
Yeah, and we have kind of gone berserk with it. Like, it very, very quickly became my kind of like DOC, like my drug choice. My
oh, nice! I didn't know.
DOC.
That's a Southern California acronym. Clearly,
I was gonna have to say what that was.
We in Northern California don't know about the drug of choice, so
right. And really, I mean, it's for the same reason that you probably love whatever site that you're using the most. So it is really super friendly with iPhone and iPads, and allows my clients to download their images in full res for the clients who have high res photos included in their packages. And it just has integration with our website really easily. So it's a lot of things that I think are important. So for you, it might be integration. For me, it's everything. So it's easy access for my clients. They can post the images straight to Facebook from the galleries, and it does all of the tagging for us. So links back to my website. When they post, it gives it. They have like back end tracking that they're working on that we're going to have pretty soon that will allow you to see where your images are going and how they're spreading through Facebook. So for me, it's a tool to see how my images are being viewed, and we're trying to spread the images through the wedding community as quickly as possible, which usually is done through social media sites. But it's definitely not the kind of site I'd recommend for like anyone other than a wedding photographer. It's
wedding or portrait photographer, right?
Right. Yeah. So other than that, can you hear it? Oh, you guys insisted. Sorry, I got it. Are you still there? I'm like, I'm here. And other than that, of the sites that you guys recommended, I mean, to be honest, I don't use Flickr. I don't use Smug Mug. I use Pictosh for my clients. And for my own personal stuff, I've been checking out 500 pics, but I haven't really done anything with it. So currently, my favorite site to share photos on is Facebook.
Facebook? Oh, you mean your the current favorite site to donate your images to so that they own the license to?
Yeah, exactly. Because I am looking to book weddings. That is my goal. So if the more people that see my images and share my images and download my images with the watermark on it, the better a chance I have of reaching a bride. So that is really our goal now, and it's very different from most photographers' goals.
Yeah. Cool.
Most
All right,
kind.
guys, let's do like a group chat, guys. I just want to have like a group discussion about like photo sharing services and which ones you guys use. So Sarah's a friend of a fan of Pass. I fall on the SmugMug side with Dave. I'm a big fan of SmugMug. I still have some stuff on Flickr, but I'm a little bit scared that the Hindenburg, maybe somebody's lighting a match in there or something. So, Derrick has everything he owns on SmugMug. Where is everybody at? Where do you guys?
Well, no, I use more than one service. So I use Google Plus for SEO. I use SmugMug for clients, and I use Flickr and Facebook for community. And so they all have their little niche. Actually. Oh,
I got you. So you're all over the place.
Yeah, no, it's very targeted, very focused.
It's
I'm like
strategy.
a laser beam of sharing. Yes.
Gavin, where are your images at when you like online? Are you a Flickr guy? Or are you SmugMug or what?
I used to be pretty active on Flickr. I don't think I'm the only one that's kind of faded away from that. I tried 500 pics and faded a little bit away from that. Pixoto.com is kind of fun. Because there's those image duels and that's fun. But I think most of those are for sharing with photographers. And increasingly, I go where the people are. So, I post stuff to my Facebook fan page if I have a new piece. But ultimately, I want to get people going to my website because that I control. Facebook is a little scary that, it's Facebook, right? So, but I use it because the people are there. Google Plus is cool, but the interaction just isn't as good. Facebook interaction is not as good as it used to be. But I guess in terms of if I'm proofing, like if I had a wedding and after the client came in and I projected for them, I would then put an online proof gallery. I'll typically use like collages.net or something like that. But I know SmugMug's a great service for that sort of thing. And but ultimately, I guess I'm trying more and more to stay kind of centric around my website and then use a little bit of whatever social is happening right now to try and build that.
Yeah, you're heavy on the marketing side, and you want to bring everything in. Just before we move on, Gavin, you have a site called Seim Effects, right? Where you have plugins and all that kind of stuff for Aperture and Lightroom and all that stuff. So your ecosystem is more towards you want people to come into you, right?
Well, in the terms of other photographers, yes, I want them to come in and see that, yes, I make really good presets and, here's my workshops that I do. But in terms of the consumer side, I have different pages for these things. So on the photographer side, I'll have my Seim Effects page and I'll post tips there and I'll post freebies on my website. On the consumer side, I'll post my latest pictorials and limited editions or the latest portrait I've done or something like that and try and direct them to that site. So I kind of have one site where everything's at. But in answer to your question, I guess, yes, either way, I'm trying to draw them to whatever project is in the niche of where I'm focusing with that particular group.
Got it. And Martin, you've been kind of silent over there about your photo sharing. Do you not share, or are you sharing right now through this Hangout because your images are on the wall?
There we go.
That's the only way people. That's your version of photo sharing.
Yeah. No, I do a lot of things. I have a Photo Shelter account where I put stuff that I think people might be interested in using for stock. I post on Flickr sometimes because I've got my export plugins set up to do that, and I'm getting less and less into that. I mean, I'm moving away from that more and more. Sorry, Derrick. But my first port of call now is Google Plus. Literally, I posted 10 photos of the annular eclipse yesterday, and I'm just looking at the latest count. I got 1,000, almost 1,400 plus ones, 458 reshares, 472 comments. So, I mean, it's like, and that doesn't happen every time, but I think this one got put into the What's Hot section. So, and that happens maybe once a week or so. So in terms of getting eyes on my work, then it pays me to go to Google Plus first. But are all of those people going to buy my work or hire me to take their photos? Probably not. So it depends who you're marketing to. I mean, a lot of my business model is built upon actually doing workshops, seminars, tours, and things like that. So I want photographers to see my work and like my work in the hope that they'll decide to come and become a client in that way. So I do various things. I also put things on 500px because I love the site in that it gives me so much. But I post on my own gallery, like I say, photo shelter for stock, lots of different things.
Yeah, and Dave's put in the chat here that, and I totally agree with him, that having that much juice on your G Plus account can't hurt your SEO on Google.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's one of those things that Google's it seems to like me. I mean, I've got a relatively active photography forum.
It's because of your accent, I'm telling you.
But they, I mean, I don't know. I think I did a few things right in the earlier years, and plus I've been doing it a long time. I've got some links in from some big people that, I mean, even just this and working with people like you over on TWiT, Frederick, we've got a certain number of people linking over to us. That all helps. But Google Plus for sure. If you can get a lot of people looking at your work on Google Plus, it probably makes them say, "Oh, hey, this guy's doing something right. Let's give him a little bit more weight."
Cool. All right, guys, let's transition into the Google Plus discoveries piece of this. On Trey's Variety Hour, Trey likes to help elevate photographers that for one reason or another may not be getting those 1,000+1s or the 5 million followers that Derrick Story has, or or that kind of love on Google Plus. So we want to use this forum as a way to shine the light on some photographers that may not otherwise get the light shown on them. So, Gavin, let's start with you first. Let's do a quick screen share and just highlight a photographer who you think deserves to be put before the Trey's Variety Hour audience.
Absolutely. Well, I don't even have 1,000+1s, but I've got one here that should. So let me go in here. Hang on.
Let's do a quick screen share, and don't forget to release it when you're done.
You got it. Okay, so you should. Okay, open share selected window. Hopefully it's coming up now.
Yep, we see it.
This is a guy I actually met when I was down on the Oregon coast at one point. I was down there with a mentor of mine, Kim Whitmire, and we were doing a big family portrait on the beach. And I met this young man. I think he's 16 or 17. And it's very rare for me to go out as somebody who's a little bit fanatical about, how good is, a landscape or a pictorial scene. I mean, a beautiful sunset isn't good enough because anybody can take a photo of that. So I'm always saying, okay, we got to push it. We got to think about tone control or zones and subtlety. And Lijah Hanley is a young man that I met, and I've kind of been following along with his work. And he's just doing some really phenomenal stuff along kind of these lines of what you guys see me into, of, not just posting a ton of photos, but posting stuff that is really of quality. And I'm just going to kind of flip through them a little bit here.
Go for it. I love the saturation. That's my thing. I love
he's doing some really phenomenal work, and it's clear that he's not just running around clicking and then posting. He's really putting some refinement into these, and I'm hoping that I can I use arrow keys? I'm probably not. I'm not sure how I can switch around here.
Sure. Yes, you should be able to.
Okay, let me try that. There we go.
Oh, look at that, star trails. Can't go wrong with the star trails.
Can't go wrong with those, and they're very hard to do well. But he's got. I actually sent him an email, said, "Hey, I'm going to talk about you tonight. Put a few more images because I don't think he's terribly active on Google Plus. But these are some that I've seen coming through his Facebook page and stuff. I mean, and just some real subtle stuff. I mean, the pictorial. You can say, yeah. I mean, a great sunset. Who are you to say it's not a great sunset? Well, the question is, was it a great sunset that you just kind of tripped over and you took a snapshot of, or were you really crafting with it? Because there's so many beautiful images being made. How do we stand out? And I think that refinement of tone and line and detail and all that kind of stuff is really important. So I would check this guy out. Check him out on Google Plus, maybe his Facebook or something like that. But I think this is somebody that I want to chat more with, because somebody that's this young, that's thinking about refinement in their images, thinking about controlling subtle details, to me, that's saying something. To be honest, as many photographers as there are, I just don't see that very often in terms of really understanding and looking at how we can master light, because that's what this is all about. And yes, any camera and anybody can take a photo, but what can you do with it? So I think that's why he's up here today. So Lijah Hanley, Lijah Hanley, check him out, and he's going in the right direction with this. I'm liking what he's doing, and I hope he continues to keep refining this and just keep getting better and better, because he's got a ton of potential.
Very cool, Gavin. Thanks for that. All right, Sarah, I'm gonna tee you up, and you show us who you think deserves the spotlight tonight.
Okay. Let's see if I can handle this. Oh. Hold on, I only have myself up. That's not going to work.
I was going to say, wow,
But
that looks amazingly like you.
I also don't have that many followers. I would have been a good pick, maybe. Come visit me, too.
I know. Exactly.
You can submit yourself. Go ahead.
What about me? No. I picked one of my, somebody who's in one of my circles, Jen Bebb. They're a husband-wife team, fantastic. And I've always loved their stuff, but you can see like some of her images. I love this one. If I go full screen, will that work for you guys?
Yeah, do it. It just gets rid of that little.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice. So you can see a little bit of the work here, and then she's got. There was even another book in here that I'll show you guys. Oh, this one, perfect.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is just one wedding, which I just loved. Love her creativity.
Nice.
It's Bebb Studios, and I believe they're in Canada. So good people, great photography.
Yeah.
And just, I liked some of this kind of stuff too. They were doing a little bit of like layout in their posts.
Yep. A lot of low contrast stuff, which is interesting because everybody's like, "Oh, my style is high contrast," which means the highlights are all blown out. But it's the opposite here, real subtle.
High contrast and oversaturated. That's low contrast and desaturated.
And just subtle. Yeah, subtle is good.
And a lot of variety and stuff too. I mean, you see a little bit of you see stuff like this, but then you'll see something that's a little more
mixing
kind
it
of
up.
consistent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one in here that had rounded corners. This is another layout piece. I love their use of negative space and just a
those
lot
color
of
blocks. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. That.
Good choice.
So that is the Bebbs. Oh, there's where the rounded corners. I knew they were here somewhere.
Very cool.
And I will release you.
Release it, and we'll pop over to Martin. Martin, you can show us who you want to put in the spotlight tonight.
It always takes a second. It's like I'm on it.
Hey, Martin, I don't know if you
can you hear me? So this guy is his name's Hengki Lee from Jakarta, and I'm pretty impulsive. I mean, I'm going to show you someone that I have literally just found a few days ago, but this guy's work is I just love his sensitivity. He has this is work that I see that a lot of it is it's from Vogue Italy. So this guy's not necessarily a newcomer in that he's he doesn't show his work, but he is very new to Google Plus, and he started working with a pinhole camera. It's the Lens Baby pinhole camera adapter, and I just like the way I like the sensitivity of his work. I think he's coming up with some really nice stuff. I looked at his profile, and he on a different website. It seems that he's only been photographing for the last 3 years or so. So he's doing the right things. He's getting noticed. These shots that we're looking at right now are beautiful. I've got these are all pinhole things and pinhole images, and I just love the sensitivity that he's got here. Yeah.
Great space and composition here, and the
right
is beautiful.
Right. So yeah, this guy. Let's go back to his profile. Hengki Lee. I really recommend that you check this guy out. He's doing a lot of good stuff here.
Very cool.
Very cool. All right, rocking. Derrick Story. I presume you have somebody you think is worthy of your commentary tonight?
Well, I actually did do my homework this time. Last time I was a bad boy. Let me see if I can make this work.
Screen share. That's it.
All right, here we go. Let's go. I think I'm mastering the technology.
Good job.
There it is.
Did I do it?
Yep.
Beauty. Yeah. So, I picked this guy not because he needs the attention, because he's actually doing quite well on Google Plus. His name's Greg. Was it Schmigel? Schmigel? Schmigel?
Schmigel.
Schmigel, I think.
Schmigel. There it is. You know what? I'm going to go with Schmigel. But I came up through photojournalism, and I love photojournalism. And this particular gallery of his that I'm scrolling through right now is all with a mobile phone, is mobile photography. And I like the idea of, I love shooting with my iPhone 4S, and in addition to everything else I shoot with. And I love the idea of, street photography with it and journalism with it. And I think he just does a nice job. I like the cleanness of his black and whites. And I think in part I like looking at his work because it just reminds me of a place and time where this is what I was doing a lot too.
Nice.
I love it.
Cool.
All right. So I'm going to go back up so you can see his name since I'm sure I just totally butchered it. There's his name right there.
I did find it. I just started typing him and he came up. So,
and just so everybody knows, who's watching, I'll be putting all these names and giving them to Trey, so they'll be on the post when he does share the video of this.
Oh,
Very
good.
Cool.
All
Very
right.
Cool.
All right. Let's see if I can unshare now.
You did it.
You're back. You're back.
You're back.
I'm back. Am I okay?
All right. And last but not least here, so my share is, or the person that I want to highlight is a woman who is a husband and wife team, actually. And Shirley Lowe, I'm going to highlight her profile in particular. But like Derrick's choice, she is not unknown on Google+. In fact, I think 120,704 people have her in circles already. But I'm going to screen share so you can see why 120,000 people have her in circles. So she is.
Mine wasn't 120,000. I'm just.
my guy has less than 4,000, so let's give him a hand.
Mine has like 500.
Yeah. We're just saying,
awesome.
Frederick.
She's awesome. I interviewed her, she and her husband, Charles, on This Week in Photo. I think it was last week. And their philosophy around photography, let me get into their photos this particular album that we were talking about. I think it was this one. Yeah. So their style and their whole methodology and mindset behind photography is they want to do shots that sort of talk about Earth and just sort of, becoming one with the world and that kind of thing. And that's in their head when they're out shooting and making these images. It's not just about, okay, let me go out and find a pretty picture. It's about, I want to go out there and create something
so cool.
that talks specifically about the world and about the Earth and how we can become one with the Earth and how we are all made of stardust and, all that stuff. And I just thought it was all really interesting how they approach this. Plus, they're like a 1-2 punch. They're a husband-wife team that live in the DC area and they work together, and sometimes they use each other in their compositions. Like, let me go back to let me see if I can find that one shot. I'm probably not going to be able to find it because they update this all the time, I think. Yeah, hang on. Let me see if I can get it.
Go to photos.
I'm lost. Anyway, go to Shirley Lowe's profile, and you'll see all of her work there. I don't want to take too much time on it, since she already, she has a couple of thousand followers right now. But she's awesome. You can see why. Both of them are awesome. They do some really impressive work. And it's not, for me, it's not so much, that, okay, they're technically competent, which they are, but I just like the mindset behind that when they go out. And you'll hear in the interview, if you listen to the interview that I did with them, that when they go out, they specifically have a shot in mind and a methodology and sort of a mindset in mind when they go out to create something, rather than, a lot of people, myself included, sometimes when I go out, I'm like, hey, I just want to go get a good shot of something, So, I don't know. So anyway, that's my selection.
Beautiful work.
Yeah, great stuff.
She is awesome. All right, guys, we're at the end of the show. We went a little bit long, so I want to wrap things up now. Let's start on the side with Derrick. Derrick, where are you at on the ether, on the Ethernet, on the internet, and all that magic?
Everything runs through thedigitalstory.com, so that's the watering hole for me. And podcasts, workshops, and then all my Twitter and Facebook stuff too.
All right, thedigitalstory.com.
The Digital Story, yes.
And Mr. Gavin Seim, where are you at? Where can people come and stalk you and find out more about you?
You can find me on my website, Seim Studios, SEIMstudios.com. I have lots of projects, including the podcasts and my pictorials and portraits and all this stuff. So that's kind of the home where you can get to everything, including the presets and the freebies and my tips on editing and all that kind of stuff on Seim Effects. And of course, I'm on Google Plus, Twitter at Gavin Seim. It's SEIM. It's kind of a weird name, but SeimStudios.com. You can pretty much get to everything I do, and so head over there, check it out, see what you think.
Very cool. All right, and Mr. Martin Bailey, where are you at?
Everything goes with me to everything's from martinbaileyphotography.com. But I'd also like, I'm at the moment trying to gauge interest in a printing and a full color management workshop and seminar that I'm going to be doing in the States and in Australia and the UK later this year. So if anyone is interested in that, no obligation at this point, but if you could go over to Pixels to Pigment, and that's either a TO or number 2, pixelstopigment.com, and drop your name into the sign up for form there and let me know that you're interested, then I'll keep you in touch on that. I'll keep in touch with you on that.
Awesome. All right. Thanks a lot for that, Martin. And Miss Sara France, where can people go to find out more about you?
You can always find me at sarafrance.com, and it's S-A-R-A, no H, and France just like the country. I'm also on Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, all under the same name.
Sara, S-A-R-A, France. Got it.
Right.
So you could just say, just Google me, Sara France. People will find
me. Just Google me. I'm about last I checked, 11 pages of Google if you put in Sara France, at least.
Seriously?
Apparently there's no one else with that name. Yes.
Wow. That's awesome. That's cool. And listeners, if you're looking for me, or watchers, if you're looking for me, you can find me at my site, frederickvan.com, or I'm the host of a podcast called This Week in Photo. You can find our web home at thisweekinphoto.com, or people call us TWiT from time to time, or you can find us on iTunes. Just search for TWiT, all that stuff, or Google. You'll find us there as well. And that's it. That's the end of Trey's Variety Hour number 36, the evolution and revolution of photography.
Hey, Tony, would you like to tell us about TWiT Photo tomorrow, please?
Yeah, tomorrow we'll actually have our coverage from Norway with a few interviews with Leo and Catherine and a bunch of awesome photographers. So.
Oh, that's
at what, 1:30?
Yeah, tomorrow, Tuesdays at 1:30 Pacific.
Cool.
Very cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks everybody for taking time out of your Monday evening to hang out and party with Trey, and
thank you.
and hang out in the hangout virtually with me. I appreciate the time, and have a good night.
You too.
You too. Thanks for having me,
everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.